In the 1930s, psychologists Gordon Alpert and Henry Odbert embarked on an ambitious study of personality-related words found in the dictionary, also known as a lexical study, extracting a staggering 18,000 personality-describing words from the dictionary. This resulted in a list of 4,504 adjectives they believed were descriptive of observable and relatively permanent traits. Little did they know, this would spark a 6-decade quest to unravel the fundamental structure of human personality. In 1943, psychologist Raymond Cattell took Alpert and Odbert's list and reduced it to roughly 160 terms by eliminating words with very similar meanings. He then expanded this list to 171 traits by incorporating additional terms from psychological categories. Using factor analysis, Cattell's work laid the groundwork for future discoveries in personality research. In 1947, Hans Eysenck published his book Dimensions of Personality, where he proposed that personality could be described by 2 primary dimensions, extroversion and neuroticism. Eysenck's work provided a foundation for understanding personality through broad dimensions. But if personality is truly made up of 5 key traits, how did researchers go from just 2 to the full Big 5? In 1949, Donald Fisk used terms adapted from Cattell's earlier research to identify 5 factors: social adaptability, emotional control, conformity, inquiring intellect, and confident self-expression. Donald's research was part of the foundation, but the final breakthrough came from an unexpected source: inside the U.S. Air Force. In 1958, Ernst Tupes and Raymond Kristall, 2 research psychologists at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, drew upon earlier research by Raymond Cattell and Donald Fisk. At the time, their work was just another Air Force technical report, nearly forgotten. But one key event changed everything, earning them the title of the fathers of the Big 5 model. In 1961, Tupes and Kristall identified 5 personality factors. Their project aimed to improve U.S. Air Force pilot selection by addressing concerns that self-reports, essentially personal assessments, where individuals rate their own traits, could be easily faked. Tupes and Kristall labeled the first factor as surgency, later became known as extroversion. This factor included traits like being talkative, assertive, and sociable. The second factor, labeled as agreeableness, has retained this name over time, reflecting traits like being cooperative and compassionate. The third factor, dependability, later became known as conscientiousness. This factor includes traits like being responsible and organized. The fourth factor, labeled as emotional stability, is now often referred to as neuroticism, which has the opposite meaning. Emotional stability reflects being calm and emotionally stable, while neuroticism reflects a tendency to experience negative emotions. The fifth factor was originally labeled as culture, which later evolved into openness to experience. This factor includes traits like being intellectually curious and open to new experience. Tupes and Kristall's 1961 study, which identified the 5 personality factors, was originally published as a routine Air Force technical report. At the time, it appeared to just be another internal document for military operations, intended to improve pilot selection. It might have remained largely unnoticed if not for Warren Norman, a professor at the University of Michigan. Norman was contracted by the Air Force to develop a self-report version of the pure rating instrument used by Tupes and Kristall. During this work, he became aware of their report and recognized its significance. Norman then published a similar study in a mainstream academic journal in 1963, which helped bring Tupes and Kristall's findings to a wider audience. In summary, Tupes and Kristall's work laid foundational groundwork for the Big 5 personality traits model. As a result, they are often recognized as the fathers of the Big 5 model. In 1978, Paul Costa and Robert McCrae introduced the NEO model, with 3 factors: neuroticism, extroversion, and openness. They later added agreeableness and conscientiousness to their model, aligning it with the Big 5 personality traits. In the late 1970s, Louis Goldberg administered Norman's 1,431 trait terms to university students, who rated themselves on these traits, instead of the earlier research where participants were rated by others. Through factor analysis, Goldberg confirmed the 5-factor structure, which would become the foundation of the Big Five model. In 1980, Goldberg presented his findings at a symposium organized by Jack Digman for the Western Psychological Association, and around the same time, he was invited to contribute to 2 book chapters. In his 1981 chapter, he coined the term Big Five in lowercase and in quotation marks. The use of quotation marks likely indicated that the term was being used tentatively or informally, reflecting the model's emerging status at the time. By the 1990s, the Big Five model had started to gain traction as being the most robust and widely accepted framework for understanding personality structure. Its applications expanded beyond academia into various professional domains. Over 60 years since Alpert and Odbert's lexical odyssey, the Big Five personality traits, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, continue to shape our understanding of human individuality, guiding research, assessments, and personal growth endeavors worldwide. This engaging story highlights the key milestones and researchers involved in the decades-long journey that led to the discovery and widespread acceptance of the Big Five personality model, from its humble beginnings as a dictionary word list to its current status as a cornerstone of personality psychology. So now you know the history, but here's the real question. How do you actually use the Big Five to improve your life? Click here to find out.